What's going on, champs and chambits? It's FireMonkey here, and can I be completely honest, gaming feels like it's in a very weird spot, or maybe I'm just in a weird spot. What I'm talking about here is it feels like when it comes to things that you can actually play, there just seems to be no form of variety or anything I guess you would want to actually play that you're actually interested in, right? Because, you know, I sit here, and maybe this is just a very me-specific problem or something, but I'll sit here and I'll play a game every once in a while, and, you know, as I play the games and everything, I will have fun. I mean, you know, Meet Your Maker is a game that I've played on and off for a while now, and it is a game I do in fact enjoy myself, but it still feels like it's in this weird spot where despite these games existing, I don't have the motivation to try launching these games normally and just trying to play them anymore, right? It feels like a chore trying to figure out what game I want to actually play, because not only have we had millions of games already released before, but it feels like in terms of trying to discover, you know, out of all the millions of games that have released, which one I want to go through and play, I just kind of sit there and I'm like, do I really want to grind out a lot of these games that, you know, have mindless achievements and everything else, to where I feel that, you know, in terms of how games are made recently, I prefer a more single player experience that, you know, I just can't seem to want to actually launch a game that is of that genre. Now, I know that was a lot of just words out there that probably confused everyone, to be like, what'd you just say? That was a whole lot of nothing, FireMonkey. But let me go ahead and break it down like this. Gaming is fun. I've been a gamer my entire life. I've played video games on and off for years upon years upon years upon years, and ever since I was a little kid, I played games, right? When I was 5 years old, and this is a story my dad had actually told me, he told me that he had sat me down in front of like an Xbox and everything, and he put a controller in my hand, and at the age of 5, I was playing Grand Theft Auto. Now, I'm not saying I was a god at Grand Theft Auto where I was really good at it or anything, but I have been playing video games basically my entire life. I mean, you know, thinking about it, whenever you hear someone's first game, you might think, oh, you know, you played Sega games, you played Sonic, you played Mario, whatever else, but for me, the oldest memory or oldest tale I've been told is that the game that I had originally played was none other than, of course, not Call of Duty, but Grand Theft Auto, right? So I've played games for a while, but it feels like recently the way gaming has evolved and changed has just made it feel like a drag trying to play some experiences, because if you play a lot of games, they're all going for that live service model now, where you have to always be online. You gotta log in not to play the game for fun, but to do your dailies, do your weeklies, do all your quests and everything else, and then after you're done with that, you know, you gotta make sure you're grinding out the battle pass or season pass or whatever other pass system they want to call it, and you want to keep on actually playing through it in order to get all of those rewards. And, you know, it feels like a lot of games recently, there'll be super cool concepts, right? Because, you know, like you'll have something like Overwatch 2, for example, or Fortnite that could be great on their own as a single player experience, but with how they're released and with how everything else goes with those games, it just kind of feels like, oh, this is more of a chore than it is a game anymore, because of the fact that you have all these tasks and quests and dailies and weeklies and stuff to do. And I think that is a reason why gaming for me has just felt like something that is kind of, you know, a chore anymore. Now, when it comes to actually playing games, I don't even want to play a single player experience because I'm so just tired of having to do the same 5 quests over and over and over again to unlock whatever the next free reward is or the reskin cosmetic or whatever else. Now, there are some cool games that I've been playing here and there, like, you know, Baldur's Gate 3. We have other games like Meet Your Maker, which is this one I'm playing right now, and those are some really cool single player experiences, but because of how gaming has been treated in general recently, in terms of online gaming and, you know, the whole entire battle pass system, sometimes I can't even motivate myself to play these games, and it's not even because like, oh, the game's bad or anything, but it's just because of the fact that it's like, I just don't have the motivation, because it feels like every single game I play ends up being a grind fest where it's like you have to be in a committed relationship to that game, and you're not allowed to have any other games you play, because if you think about it, right, there's a lot of cool experiences. You have Overwatch, you have all these other games, you have Fortnite, Call of Duty even, you know, even though there's a lot of controversies about different games, they all have their own unique little aesthetics and everything else going on for them, and they're always evolving over time, you know, changing the game up and everything to give you a new experience as you continue playing. But despite that, it always feels like a chore to continue going through and playing all those experiences, because of the fact that, you know, you log in and it's like, maybe you want to play a few matches or whatever, but you also see that it's like, oh, this is a limited time cosmetic only available this month or whatever, so you feel like you want to play something that you can get that cosmetic because it'll never return again, and who knows if you'll actually end up using it or not, right? But it's still available for you right now if you do play the game, so it's like, might as well try obtaining that while I can before it's too late. And I feel like that whole entire mentality, that whole entire, you know, mix-up is causing gaming just to feel more like a job recently, and it's funny to be like, oh, it's feeling more like a job when literally my job is recording, you know, content on video games and everything else. But it just feels like, in terms of how they've actually developed it, while I still love doing YouTube and while I still plan on doing this forever basically, it feels like, you know, playing the games themselves sometimes just aren't worth it because of how the developers and stuff have actually set up things. And then you get like the occasional single player experience or maybe co-op experience, which is super well detailed. It has hours upon hours upon hours upon days upon weeks of gameplay that you can actually put into it, and at the same time you might buy the game, play it for a little bit, be like, yeah, this is absolutely amazing, this is what gaming is meant to be, this is the type of gaming I like, but you won't actually play it. And the reason why you won't actually go through and play that game is because you're just tired. You're tired of how other games have, you know, tried making their monetization system and everything else in a certain way to make it so attention grabby, where it's always wanting you to play on it at that specific time every single day, to the point where it just feels like, you know, think about it like a job that you love but you also hate at the same time. You love the job because it's something that you've always wanted to do when you were younger or whatever, so you're going to continue, you know, having that job and everything else, but the actual bosses that you have at the company you're working at aren't the type of bosses that you actually like or anything, and they treat you very poorly. You're going to be mixed where it's like, yeah, you know, I love this, you know, I love doing this type of stuff, but at the same time you're like, I just don't like how I get treated by the actual company, you know, behind everything. What happened to all the what is... I mean, this building was... Okay, sorry, this caught me off guard. This building was just called loot, but I guess this quite literally is just a loot drop? I mean, alright, you know what, that's cool for the video, and it's like stuff like this, right? It's stuff that I enjoy because it's, you know, a unique little thing, and of course all these experiences and these raids and everything else are made by the community, but in terms of the actual games out there and everything, there's reasons why, you know, when this releases, you know, I might want to play it and everything else, and I just died, okay, but I might want to play this game and everything else, but I don't, because of how those other games have treated me with their battle passes and everything else. And it feels like, you know, a lot of companies nowadays at least are really going down that monetization rabbit hole of, you need a battle pass, you need these microtransactions, and it's not anything that's new, right? Because if you guys remember, arcades used to be a big thing. I love arcades to this day, right? I think they're fun, you know, actually go to a place, you know, play little mini games and everything else. But when it comes to, you know, everything happening in the land of just video gaming at home, you basically just have arcades with more egregious monetization, because, you know, you're still able to play the game. You don't have to spend money to get a play or anything. You're not putting in quarters to play Pac-Man or whatever else out there like that, but you are still spending, you know, like $10 every few months to unlock a battle pass. And if you play a lot of live service games, there's a lot of things to mention here, because sure, you have the battle pass, which is like $10 every few months or whatever, where you can get some cool cosmetics, but on top of that, you also have the normal system and everything else, where it's like the game's a live service, so there's a chance that one day, you know, no one's really playing the game anymore, and it just kind of dies out, you know. It's kind of sitting there in a spot where it's like, okay, you know, the game was fun while I played it, but now there's nothing for me to actually do to keep myself entertained, or, you know, it's like the player count's dwindling because of one reason or another, and it just causes this whole entire dilemma where you're sitting there and, you know, eventually the servers get shut down, and then all that money you had spent previously on those battle passes, the shop cosmetics and everything else ends up being very pointless. Now, there are some games like Halo Infinite which do a really good battle pass system where you can do it whenever you want, and there are other games like Blood Hunt, which is a battle royale game that's kind of like a vampire battle royale, which does only free battle passes, and those are really cool experiences. But at the same time, it feels like any of these games that run by the system always have their own time limit before they quote-unquote expire, and it's something that kind of, you know, makes me not want to play gaming too much, or, you know, a lot of games, because I'll sit there and I'll play the same few games or whatever, you know, like Fortnite, and I'll just be like, okay, you know, I'm going to complain about some things that they did poorly in this game that I wish they would do better, but at the same time, I just feel like, you know, it's such a chore to play some games sometimes that I don't want to play those normal games that, you know, aren't a chore. I don't really have the energy to go out there and just play the normal games, you know, for example, like Meet Your Maker or Baldur's Gate 3, because I just feel so tired and exhausted from already having to play all the different chore type games out there, and it just kind of really, if you think about it, becomes this very interesting dilemma where where I just don't really have the interest in it. But at the same time, I'm sitting there like I'm bored because I'm not playing any of the things that are available to me because of how other games and everything else have treated me with their systems and everything before. But of course, it's just a little bit of ramble on my part, regarding gaming in general. Maybe you don't care as much. Maybe you're like, oh yeah, I like the battle passes and everything. Keeps me entertained, give me something to do with the game and everything else. And those free-to-play games are really nice for people, out there who may not have other things to play, because with the battle passes and everything, they can play some really highly, engaging games and everything else without feeling like they have to spend too much money or whatever in order to, actually get a good experience. But at the same time, it just feels like way too many games are trying to either be live action, they're trying to implement NFTs, they're trying to do battle passes, they're trying to do so many things that I'm just like, I don't care. I just want to play a game to play a game. But because of all the games doing those type of systems, I don't even really want to play the games, because it's like, okay, I'm just kind of tired of what I have experienced with what these games have available to us already. Now, this whole entire dilemma, regarding me and my gaming mix-up or whatever, could just be kind of, me being tired of playing the same few games and not really wanting to, entertain myself with other games. But I am going to try, experiencing more and more of those single-player games that I've owned, that I've wanted to play for the longest time, but never actually got around to playing. And these games, for example, are things like, the rest of the Yakuza franchise. So if you want to keep up to date with my whole entire single-player gaming extravaganza stuff, feel free to follow my Let's Play channel, FireMonkey Plus, where I'll be obviously talking about all of that goodies and everything else going on in that world. Because while I won't be actually recording or, giving you guys footage of my Baldur's Gate 3 gameplay, I do plan to go through every single one of the Yakuza games in the franchise and play all of those fully through, which is a lot of hours spent and a lot of just free time to do whatever it is I want to do. So I'm excited to, have some fun with those, and hopefully it kind of reignites, that lost passion for, like, gaming and, like, all those stuff where it's like, I just kind of feel like it's too much of a chore. Maybe I can slowly ease myself into this isn't really as much of a chore as I think it is, and I can just continue to play games because I enjoy them, instead of sitting there like, I want to play games because it's something I do enjoy, but at the same time, I'm tired of playing games because it's not being an enjoyable experience for me right now or whatever else. That very weird dilemma going on in my head, whatever we want to call it or whatnot. Hopefully I can fix that in the very near future. But with that said, I hope you champs and chambettes enjoyed today's YouTube video. If you did, consider subscribing and support the content I create, and I'll catch you guys next time with another upload. Peace out.